what's up, man? It is the Ace Micheals Show. I'm Ace Micheals. And to the thousands, probably even hundreds of thousands of fanboys out there browsing the internet right now, probably, and not in that way, you already know my guest because you follow her, you stalk her pleasantly, you go everywhere but an inch from maybe sleeping in front of her house if you know where it is. And you know who I'm talking about is on the show today. Welcome, DANI Mae Red. How you doing, darling?
Doing good, doing real good.
Oh man, it's my pleasure to have you on board. I have been a big fan of yours for years. I mean, literally for years. I think in the beginning of Facebook, you were one of the first people that caught my eye, and I've just followed since. And it's not just because you're beautiful, but it's because of the things that you say, the things that you post, the positivity. Positivity wins me over every time. Not to mention intelligence. If an intelligent person is also positive, big thumbs up there. But tell us a little bit about DANI Mae Red that we haven't probably been able to figure out just by reading your posts and following the internet.
Oh, goodness. Well, I got my first job when I was 13 years old, and I was highly competitive in the equestrian circuit. And so I started out training quarter horses and went to Arabian horses and Morgan horses and Andalusians. And so I'm formally trained in 9 different seats. I trained under one of the top horsemen in the nation, which is Eitan Lakshmi. And I wanted to, that was my whole life. That was everything to me. And I studied at UC Davis, and I got my degree in stallion management, and I understudied as a vet tech, and so that was my whole career path until 2010, when I had a horse flip over backwards on me and I broke my neck. And so that was a big oopsie-doodle for me, and changed everything for me. So a lot of my positivity posts come from a very sensitive place, because I've been in a really dark place. I've lost everything. I've hit absolute rock bottom. I know what it's like to suffer from PTSD in multiple scenarios, and I only feel comfortable in talking about this subject on this show. But I know what it's like to be somewhere and all of a sudden be hit with, scenes that you can't flee from, and you have, this incredible anxiety, and you have a pending doom, and you feel like you're suffocating, you feel like you're drowning, and there's this overwhelming fear, and you don't know what's triggering it really, except for like how that you're safe in that moment, but you also know that something's incredibly wrong. So to my fans and the people that follow me, my posts are not from a place that is invalid. I'm posting very like upbeat, like, if you can dream it, you can do it. If you work hard, you can achieve it. It's because my very first steps that I created, that were actually walking in a straight line was actually on the runway back in 2013, because I suffered a brain injury and I was bedridden for a year and a half. And so when I started getting my momentum back up, when I first landed my gig as a KISW rock girl, I had my rock sisters And I would rally them, and I would have them stand on either side of me because I couldn't handle the weight from the rockaholics when they'd come up and attempt to take photos with me because the pressure around my upper cervical was too much. And so it takes, it's been a really long journey, and it's taken, um, the Emerald City becoming my family, um, as a collective, whole in order for me to have the career that I have. And it took me putting myself out there and, working that much harder, because when everybody else was, um, either, maybe not showing up, because they had a headache, or they were running late, for whatever reasons, um, I was making it a point to be there because my alternative was laying in bed and suffering.
Mm.
And so that's what drives me to this day, is my hunger to live.
Wow, that's pretty doggone deep. Now, I had a couple of questions as you were talking. I'm just trying to recap, but what's interesting is I would call it pretty girl problems. Like if you're an attractive person, people just don't think you have it as hard as other people. They actually might even shrug it off, like, "Oh, come on, Danny, it's just a headache. Get going." Have you encountered that? Is that a real thing in your world? Pretty girl problems?
It still is. In fact, so recently, I was supposed to be, at the Urbanica on Fifth in, Miami, Florida, and I don't usually, call out organizations, but I'm going to right now. And This particular organization, I through Expedia.com, and I used my I booked it through insurance in case I had an emergency. And in this particular case, I with anybody that battles with chronic pain, they'll understand what I'm about to say. Chronic pain, if you have stress in your life, chronic pain gets exacerbated by stress.
Mm.
And I still battle chronic pain to this day. And so I had some really um, stuff happen with my family that was really emotional. Um, and so it triggered my chronic pain. And so I landed up getting a really, really bad migraine. And I
Oh,
hadn't had a really bad migraine in a really long time. And
mm,
my migraines are aura and cluster migraines. And so I can't see. I can't function. I have no, I have no verbal um, speech whatsoever. And so I was stuck in bed. And so I had to cancel my trip, and I was so devastated. And I even did a post about um, about uh, about regret, and it like and urging my fans to, please, if you ever have anything, like, just jump head first and, like, live your life with no regrets. Because I had, really wished that I could have pushed myself harder. And then after I had done that, I was like, there was no way I could even driven. That would have been reckless driving for me.
right, right.
But anyways, the long story of it is that apparently the only way that that would have worked, my insurance would have been valid, was if I would have actually had a severe health issue. And my migraine wasn't a severe health issue. So if I would have had COVID or something like that, then that would have been valid. So I am still at a war with this, with Expedia insurance and with Urbanica on Fifth, in Miami. And so I lost $1,600 over it. And it's just like, uh, so they have disputed it, saying that a migraine should not get anybody down, should not put anybody down, that I should have been able to travel. And my doctor, who's been my physician for, a decade now, is just like, teammate, I'm so sorry, sweetheart, because like I've literally had to go in for, I've had to be admitted into the hospital. I've had to have, injections into my blum. I've had to be, I'm on medications for it. So it's just like, really, guys, like,
Mhm.
really?
Yeah, thank God I haven't had a migraine for years, but I will tell you all, I would rather go to war against the entire Russian army single-handedly than to have a migraine headache. It is such a debilitating feeling. Your brain hurts, your eyeballs hurt, your eye sockets hurt. It's terrible. It's terrible. And I've known
Well,
people that can't keep down food. I mean, it's terrible.
yeah, I mean, but the funny thing is that, so they had told me, like legit told me on the phone, that if I would have had COVID, that I would have been able to get a refund. And then I ended up getting COVID right after that.
Oh
And
no.
me being sick with COVID, like, I mean, I wouldn't ever be around people being sick with COVID, but I would have been able to travel being sick with COVID. Being
Right.
sick with COVID wasn't too hard on my body. But luckily, I mean, I was one of the very lucky people that it wasn't too hard on me. But comparatively to my migraine, I was functioning really well. I was riding my horses, because luckily horses can't contract the virus. And so I was still able to go out and ride my horses, but with a migraine, I was down. So it's like,
Right, right, exactly. Danny, do you ever, because your job is so physical, your life is physical, and it's all
yes.
revolving around your body and your body consciousness. Do you ever worry about, oh my gosh, maybe one day I'll be too old to wear a bathing suit. Maybe one day, um
No, honey, I'm a vampire.
I
Are you kidding me right now?
love it. I love it.
Absolutely. So two things. My goal is to continue to model into my 50s. I would love to represent uh fine wine women, number one.
It's a great
Okay.
terminology. Yes, I love it.
Yes. So there's that, because there's an untapped market, and women should not stop wearing swimwear, like
Yeah.
at any age. Like, and with that, okay, I was just in Cancun and I was just in Puerto Vallarta like this year, and I was staying at Secrets Resorts. And it's this high-end luxury resort. And so the women there are from all over this gorgeous globe. And so they're from all walks, right? And so you have people from Peru, you have people from Shanghai, you have people from, just from everywhere, right? And so, all colors of this gorgeous planet. And speaking all tongues. And so I'm watching the fashion and watching all of these mature women, and they're gorgeous, and they don't give two shakes of a lamb's tail of how old they are and what
Yeah,
they're wearing. And I am just like, yes, this is what it's about. And
that's right.
they were gorgeous. And so I think that we have beauty so bottled into this little tiny jar, that you're like, okay, so beauty has to look like this if that's what's beautiful. Um, but it's not.
Mhm.
So I would love to continue to model, as long as I can market myself. Um, into my 50s, hopefully. I mean, even if I could do it into my 60s. I don't plan on having any children, and I ride vigorously, both, humans and horses. So I keep my figure really well.
What would you think of this saying? And I'm going to tell my thoughts on it. I'm going to say that what we're seeing now is an evolution of beauty. in that I think you know, you may not know. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I've been a photographer the entire time I've known you for 20 years. I've been a photographer in LA, Miami, blah blah blah. And I post stuff online now anymore. I don't do it as much as I used to because it's not the same market, which also reinforces what I'm about to say as far as the evolution of beauty. It used to be when I was in LA doing photography, you could just look down the street. You could tell who was a model because they had their black portfolio bag.
Yeah.
They were tall, they were thin in most cases, and they were headed upstairs to an appointment or they were rushing to an audition. And now, in the age of Instagram,
Mhm.
more people of more body types and general types of levels of experience are a model, right?
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
say that's an evolution of beauty. I don't think it personally, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it just has opened up to the point where we see different people, girls with nose piercings, guys with tattoos, and all sorts of categories that we used to not think of as beauty, right?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there's a lot of pros and cons to that. I think that it's widened the demographic. However, it's made it more difficult for uh, for for people to kind of figure out. Excuse me, I need to turn that off. There we go. For people to as you put the parentheses in when you put model. And I think that that's case in point. Um, so you run into a lot of people and they're like, I'm a model, but they work as a barista. Or
Right.
I'm a model.
Yeah, yeah,
um, and they work at a restaurant, or I'm a model and they work at whatever it is. Uh, so I understand having to make ends meet other places while you're trying to get your foot in the door in the beginning of your career. However, there's that, just like all actors, we all have that struggle.
yeah,
Musicians, all
of
that,
course.
the struggle is real. um but um also there's that fine line of, are you really, or are you just an Instagram?
Yeah, yeah,
So um and that's made it really difficult, because then you have this open floodgate where I'm going to speak as a model that is attempting to be booked by photographers. And so we models have a thing that we call it man with camera. So we have a whole bunch of men with cameras,
yeah,
because anybody can buy a camera and then all of a sudden just call themselves a photographer.
yeah,
And so my inbox gets flooded. And so I do apologize to everybody that has attempted to reach me for the last 2 years, because I completely stopped answering my messages on my socials, because I with the pandemic, I was just like, I'm just going to be with my family and my horses, because I couldn't book work. And I didn't feel it was necessary for me to engage with topics of, you know, what I was wearing that day, or is it pink, or whether or not I was going to show you anything. So, because the answer is not your information, and no, I will not.
right,
Um, so, um, so, I'm not your girlfriend.
right.
And this is my business. My business just happens to be that sex sells. And I um I I'm a lingerie swimwear model. Um, but again, I'm not your girlfriend. Um,
Yeah,
so um so yeah, it was a very hard decision that I had to make, but because I am very close to a lot of my people as well. And so, anyways, the point that I'm attempting to make is that I use Messenger, or I had used Messenger in order to book a lot of work.
Mhm.
And now I'm going back to Messenger. Now I'm trying to, book work again, and trying to weed through the people that are actually legit companies and legit photographers, to the people that are men that have purchased cameras that are shooting out of their apartments,
Right,
calling it their studios, and then I show up and it's their bedroom.
right,
And um they haven't purchased their camera for the right reasons. They're purchasing their camera so that they can take photos of us girls, get us girls in compromising positions, take photos of us in lingerie. And ladies and gentlemen, let's be real, they're going to get themselves off with it. So that's pornographic, and I'm done. Like, I'm done not speaking my voice about it, because it's not okay. And it's so when you ask me that question about models, quote unquote,
mhm,
photographers, quote unquote, man with camera, you guys are also not okay. It should not be in this business. So how do we stop it? It's not going to be stopped. Social media is, it's come on to us so fast.
right.
And we now have this beautiful tool within, a click of a button. I mean, you're in Vegas, I'm in Seattle, and we're able to do this. And
Yeah,
it's this beautiful feed, and we're going to have, this hopefully awareness at this moment, reaching some individuals after this. Um, but also, at what point do we stop and say, how do we utilize these platforms for good and not for ill intentions?
yeah. And I know I don't know, but I would presume that you've worked with female photographers,
I do.
female
Yeah.
filmmakers, and
Yeah.
I've interviewed females that make films, and they say it's a very unique, different position that they take to making the films than a male would take. And now I've only been a male, so I don't know the difference, right, myself personally. But I want to ask you two questions compound. One, is it different? And maybe you'll explain the differences working with a female photographer or a female filmmaker. And then the other part of that question, um, are there real serious security concerns when you're booking jobs off the internet, or you're booking through, you don't know this person, you've only seen this individual's work on Hupstagram, and so they want you to fly to New Mexico and do a photo shoot. So those are my two questions. Number one, is it different working with women? Number two, do you have a system in place where you know you're going to be safe? I mean, you don't have to tell us the system. I don't think that would be safe, but but you do have a system in place where you're protecting yourself in case of, right?
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily say that women are much safer, unfortunately.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Because unfortunately, women can groom women for these same purposes, right? Um, so my advice to young ladies that are, getting into this business, or even adult women that are getting into this business, is use your intuition. Always follow your intuition. If you have a bad feeling about something, if somebody uses some kind of red flag term, or, you know, just rubs you the wrong way, no money is worth it. Get out. Don't show up. Just get out. It's that simple. Um, it's not that simple, but it's that simple. Um, and it's never worth it. I carry. I'm a fucking amendment fan over here. But
Don't take our
um,
guns. Don't take our guns.
yeah. um, um, so you know, my house, my rules, my car, my rules.
Yes.
And
But let me ask you, Danny, would you use your gun? Like, are you in the mindset ready to shoot
absolutely.
somebody and
That
kill them?
there's no point in having a gun unless you're going to draw and fire. You don't warn. So period. Um, that'll only get you hurt. So and then I have so for any of you that are not comfortable with carrying, um have a taser, have and bear spray. Um, don't use pepper spray. That stuff doesn't work. Bear spray. This country girl over here. So um, yeah, just be aware of your surroundings. I also have 8 years of martial arts under my belt. So, um, but yeah, just I don't know. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. But now I'm curious. I mean, if you were a jockey for the an equestrian jockey doesn't have to carry a gun to work or bear spray. Isn't that a little overreaching in your career? I mean, you're a model. People take pictures of you. Why
Right.
do you need to worry about sacking somebody and going to the throat, go to the throat? You know what I mean? Like,
Because rape is real.
please, more. Yeah, that's true. I totally agree. But I'd like more from your perspective. See, as a guy, there are certain things I'll never have to deal with. And that's not an elitist attitude. That's just the reality. So as a guy, I don't really have to worry about walking from the casino floor to my car, no matter where I park, no matter how dark the parking lot may be. It's just not a reality. But I know that if a young lady is leaving the casino and I know her, in my best interest, I'm going to say, hey, could I walk you to your car? Because I would feel terrible if I didn't and something happened. Now, probably nothing's going to happen, but just the fact that you're a woman walking through the parking garage is a potential problem, right?
Mhm.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and a lot of times, so if, the photographer isn't a threat, or, being on film set isn't a threat, or, being in your recording studio with your bandmates isn't a threat, or, being at, rehearsal as a go-go dancer isn't a threat. These are all, the things that I do. Um, most of the time I'm going to my car late at night, and I'm exhausted and I'm in full hair and makeup. And a lot of times I haven't even changed out of my 6-inch heels or my go-go boots. And I'm still a lot of times in my attire that whatever I just performed in. And so I'm wearing practically nothing. And I'm walking to my car by myself. Um, so never be on your phone. Get off your freaking phone. People, I see that all the time, and they're walking to their car on their phone. Get off your phone, please. Um, I'm never, my phone is in my freaking purse or in my boot. And then I have my hand on, on my bear spray, or my my taser, and then on my other hand is on my car keys, and I'm fully aware of my surroundings as I'm walking to my car.
Now, you don't have to tell us the situation if it's too personal, but have you ever had to resort to your security measures? Have you ever found yourself in a position where you're like, okay, you're about to get tased?
Yes.
Wow. Wow. What does that say for our country and our society that a young
It's
woman
not
has
our country.
to, it's not.
No, it's humans.
So it doesn't matter where it's at, is what you're saying. It doesn't matter what state, what city, what
It's
country.
not our country. We live in a good country. We
Okay.
live in a good country. It's not our country.
Okay.
It's not our country. Travel. I urge anybody that is continuing to talk badly about America, just hop a flight, go to another country, and decide whether or not you want to live there for a minute.
Interesting. So it's a man problem? It's a man
No,
thing. not a
No,
man thing.
no, as
It's a
I
predator
said,
thing.
women can be just as bad. It's not a man versus women thing. It is a human thing.
Hmm. So in that, what I'm gathering from that is that you're saying that the nature of humans is just slanted towards violence, aggression, no matter what. When you say it's a human thing, that's what I'm getting from that. Am I reading it wrong?
I like the country western song is I believe most people are good. Um I'm a total rock girl, but I spend a lot of time at the ranch. Um Anybody that hasn't heard that song, please listen to that song. It's a really good song. I believe most people are good. Um but they're we're also animals. We are animals. Don't forget that. We are animals. And at the primal basic instinct of who we are is we want food and we want sex and we want power. Those are the three primal things: food, sex, power. If you look at anything that is being sold, what's behind marketing? It has to have those three things. If it doesn't have food, sex, or power behind it, there's no need for it. That is what is behind mankind. And that may seem sad, but it's fact.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when it comes to, you know, a single woman that is attractive, and if you put her in a scenario that she's like a damsel in distress and she's, you know, she's vulnerable, it's primal.
Hmm. Interesting. Very
So
interesting.
don't be the prey, be the predator. I mean, not in a, you know, not like in a, you know, evil way, but like never be the prey. I mean, I'm the lion.
I got time for maybe two more questions. One that I do want to ask you is more of the depth question, which is, you know, given your body of work, your history, your career, what is the thing that you want people to take away from the Danny May Red experience after you're gone, after you're buried, after you're cremated, you've flown to the universe? What do you want people to say is the thing that you impressioned upon them the most with your work?
I hope that people are touched by me. I hope that people learn. I hope that people, if I can make like one person smile, just one person smile, like a day, then I've done my job. Like if I can make people happy, like I've done my job. If I can ease somebody's pain, I've done my job. If I can make a girl feel pretty or worthy or make them feel included, I've done my job. If I can make a guy feel like he's, you know, got a chance, like he's not the underdog, like he's powerful, like, you know, like he's like he belongs, um you know, we all want that. That's what we all want. We, you know, that's the other thing, you know, that, you know, I was bullied, and I was, when I would say I was bullied, I mean I was bullied, and I didn't fit in, and I was, you know, I jumped from this crowd to that crowd to this crowd, and I just saw so much pain in the world, and so my one hope is that if I can just make people feel better, then I've done my job. And then there's the animals, and like if I can help the animals, then I've done my job. And so I try to blend animals and fashion and bring awareness, and that's my jam, like animals and fashion, and just bringing a smile to humans, and I've done my job. And people see my photos and they're like, oh, you know, well, it's, you know, she's sexy and this and that, because, you know, sex sells. That's how I, you know, get the numbers. But that's not why I do it. I do it because I love and I want to reach out and be like, I just want you all to feel better. Like, and I really just want to smother everybody with my kisses and I just want the world to be better. Like, that's
So,
my thing.
so Danny, do you think there's a position for you as our first very fashionable president? Maybe. I mean, you seem so outspoken and so passionate. Maybe you're going to be a leader in that arena down the road.
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible. And on that note, we'll close the show. But I want to ask, how do we follow you on social media? What's the best place? Guys want to find you now.
Danny May Red, DANI, May like the month, and red like my hair. All social media platforms.
And that is easy to find, easy to follow. A pleasure to speak with you always. You're wonderful, just absolutely amazing. Only thing about our conversations is they're too far apart. I wish they would be closer together. And sometimes in person wouldn't hurt either. Hey, it's been the Ace Michael Show biography. My guest today, Danny May Red. Please follow her and support her in everything that she does. You know what I say at the end of the show? Live the life you love the life you live. Thank you.
Ah!